Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're really diving into something pretty fundamental, a big idea. What if the way we think about, well, everything, value, time, even truth, what if those foundations are a bit shaky? Flawed, maybe.
And that those flaws are kind of leading us down a path we didn't consciously choose.
Exactly. We're exploring a concept today that honestly might just redefine what it means to be genuinely well-informed, especially now with information coming at us from all sides.
That's right. Our exploration today, it's really sparked by this fascinating book, Bitcoin, Everything Divided by 21 Million.
Yep.
It's a collection edited by Jeff Booth, Mel Schilling, and Nico Lomana.
Right.
And it's not just, a tech manual, not at all. It's this deep weave of history, economics, philosophy, even just basic human nature.
Absolutely. So our mission here is to really unpack the arguments in the book. We're going to trace this incredible journey right from the earliest human interactions.
Bartering and all that.
Yeah, all the way to a potential future shaped by something completely new, a truly scarce asset.
We'll look at how money, its evolution, has quietly but really powerfully shaped our societies, our economies.
Even our own personal choices day to day.
Yeah, it leads to some surprising places, questioning what we think we know.
So yeah, get ready for maybe a few aha moments. Let's dive in and unpack this.
Okay, so to really grasp the weight of what we're talking about today, we first need to get our heads around the power of ideas themselves, how they evolve.
Right.
I mean, think about it. Everything around us is a simple chair, yeah, but also huge concepts like free speech or political systems like communism.
All started as just an idea in someone's head.
Exactly. And these ideas, they aren't just sitting there. They're actively competing for our attention, our actions, and ultimately our time, our most limited resource.
And they're incredibly potent forces, aren't they? Ideas define us, they unite us, they can divide us deeply, and maybe subtly they can even control us. We get so sort of locked into our own ideas, our frameworks. Yeah, our bubbles.
That we just don't see the contradictions.
Right.
Like the book points out, someone might champion free markets, laissez-faire.
Right.
But then they also call for the central bank to step in and, pump up asset prices or bail someone out. It's like cognitive dissonance, really.
It's like a blind spot, isn't it? The book uses that great historical example, Galileo.
Oh, yeah, the heliocentric model.
Right. So Galileo, through his observations, figures out the Earth goes around the sun. Seems obvious now, but back then...
Absolutely radical. Heretical even to the powers that be. The church saw it as absurd.
But once that truth, that new idea based on observation, was out there and understood, well, you couldn't really unsee it, could you?
No, it shattered the old beliefs.
Yeah.
Eventually. It took time, but it fundamentally changed how we saw the universe.
So this constant battle of ideas, it seems chaotic, messy.
Oh, it absolutely is. But the book argues that this messiness is humanity's collective intelligence trying to figure things out. It's this evolutionary process, always striving, sometimes stumbling, towards better ways to live. But new ideas, especially disruptive ones, they have to fight against inertia, against hardened beliefs.
Our first instinct is often to ignore them or fight them, right, rather than actually investigate.
Exactly. But it's that very challenge, that friction, that allows us to learn and grow as a species.
Okay, so if ideas are the fabric, how does this connect to economics? Let's talk about creative destruction.
Ah, Schumpeter, 1942. Yeah, it's a key concept.
He basically said capitalism isn't static, it's this dynamic process of change, right?
Precisely. Entrepreneurs innovate, they bring new things, new processes, create new value. But that act of creation often, almost inevitably, destroys what came before.
Destroys old monopolies, old ways of doing things, old ideas even.
Yeah. And the established powers, they usually don't like it. They'll ignore the disruption at first, or maybe actively fight it because it threatens their position.
But that disruption, that's where progress comes from. That's how we get the benefits we often take for granted.
Absolutely. Think about, almost any major technological shift. It disrupted something. But for this creative destruction engine to work properly, the book really stresses something. Maybe uncomfortable.
Which is?
Failure. Failure is crucial.
Failure, that seems wrong. We're always told failure is bad.
I know, it's counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But think about it. If an entrepreneur's idea doesn't work, that business needs to fail so the resources, the capital, the people can move to something more productive.
Okay. That makes sense for a startup, but what about established businesses?
Same principle applies. If a new innovation comes along that's genuinely better, provides more value, then the old way, the legacy business, needs to be allowed to fail. to be replaced. That's how the system improves overall.
So what happens when we try to stop that failure, through bailouts, subsidies, interventions?
Well, according to the book, that's where things start to go really wrong. It might seem small, maybe well-intentioned, protecting jobs or industries, but it fundamentally distorts capitalism. It leads down a path of more and more control, creating this false sense of stability that just hides growing instability underneath.
And market signals get messed up.
Exactly. The signals that tell us where resources should go, they evaporate. Innovation stagnates. Society starts to kind of decay because the natural process of renewal is blocked.
So limiting ideas, preventing failure, it's limiting our own potential.
That's the argument. The free market, ideally, is just us, all of us, making choices, picking the ideas and solutions that offer the best value.
And if the money itself, the thing we use to measure and exchange that value, can be manipulated,
Then the whole game is rigged.
yeah,
And history shows, if it can be controlled to benefit some over others, it generally will be.
which leads us right back to Bitcoin.
Precisely. The book presents Bitcoin as this fundamental shift because it removes that central point of control over the money itself. It offers a way out, a network transfer, as they put it.
A bridge away from a system maybe heading towards, well, dystopia, they suggest.
Towards something based on hope, on sound principles. It allows prices to fall naturally with technology, which should happen, instead of being artificially inflated.
That Knut Svanholm quote really sticks. Abundance in money, scarcity in everything else.
And conversely, scarcity in money and file. Abundance everywhere else.
Yeah.
That's the core of everything divided by 21 million. It flips your whole perspective on wealth.
It really does flip things. Okay, so to see why Bitcoin is such a departure, we need that historical context. Let's trace the journey of money, how this centralized control crept in.
Back to the beginning. Early humans trying to trade. Barter's obvious limitations.
The cow problem again. How do you trade a third of a cow?
Right. It's messy, impractical for anything complex. So, what emerged? The ledger.
Humanity's first writings with numbers, Mesopotamian tablets 5,000 years ago.
Exactly. Not just stories, but records. Who owns what, who owes whom. Essential for organizing society beyond immediate, simple exchanges. It enabled complexity.
And from ledgers to tokens, seashells, shiny stones.
Things that represented value. Easier to carry, easier to divide, maybe. Eventually evolving into precious metal coins. Initially just weighed pieces.
Until someone, usually a ruler, decided they should be the only ones making and stamping them, claiming authority.
The king. Yeah. Probably the guy who took the land in the first place now gets to issue the money too. Convenient.
But coins worked. For a time. Portable, durable, divisible.
They had advantages, for sure. Medium exchange, store of value, unit of account. But there was a flaw baked in pretty early on.
Clipping.
Yeah, clipping. People would shave tiny bits off the edges. The coin still passed for its face value, but the clipper pocketed the metal shavings.
So basically the birth of counterfeiting, stealing value bit by bit.
That's how the book frames it. And it didn't stop there.
Yeah.
The issuers themselves, the kings, the authorities, they realized they could do it on a much bigger scale.
Not just clipping, but debasing the whole coin, mixing in cheaper metals.
Exactly. Mass debasement. Make new coins with less gold or silver, but declare they have the same value. A way to fund their projects, their wars, by silently taxing everyone holding the older, purer coins.
And the book claims this core idea of debasement by the issuer is still fundamental to government currencies today.
In principle, yes. The mechanisms change, but the ability of a central authority to create more units of currency, diluting the value for everyone else, that remains.
Okay, so debasement leads to banks. How did that happen?
Well, carrying heavy coins was risky and inconvenient, so banks emerged, offering vaults. You deposit your gold, you get a paper receipt, a banknote.
Easier to carry, easier to trade.
Much more convenient. But then the bankers had an idea. They noticed people rarely all came back for their gold at the same time.
Uh-oh, I see where this is going.
Right. What if we lend out receipts for gold we're leaking? Well, it isn't actually here right now.
Fractional reserve banking, lending out more than you have.
Bingo. Made the bankers, as the book says, extremely wealthy. But it also meant that the total amount of debt, the total claims on gold, ballooned way beyond the actual gold in the vaults.
An unstable system inherently. What happens when people realize?
Bank runs. Panic. Everyone rushes to get their gold back. The system collapses. Banks fail.
And this chaos, the cycle of boom and bust, it led to consolidation and then the central bank.
That's the historical path the book lays out. The central bank was created, often presented as a solution to be the lender of last resort.
To stop the bank runs by bailing out the smaller banks.
Essentially, yes, to backstop the system. The book calls it the most sinister institution because it solidifies this inherently unstable fractional reserve model and gives the state ultimate control. It quotes Henry Ford.
About the public not understanding the system.
Yeah, if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning. The suggestion being the system relies on a certain level of, well, ignorance or apathy.
And that central bank gets a monopoly on creating money.
Total monopoly. Whoever controls the money supply controls the nation. It's immense power. Governments can fund huge projects, wars even, without the unpopularity of direct taxes.
They just print more money, dilute everyone else's savings.
Dilute the value of everyone's time and effort already spent. It's a hidden mechanism of control and resource extraction.
Which brings us to today. Inflation as shackles, keeping us on a hamster wheel.
That's the metaphor. Constantly working harder just to stay in the same place, servicing ever-increasing debt. The book argues today's banknotes aren't backed by anything tangible, they are debt.
A promise backed by another promise.
A promise to repay a loan, often backed by future tax revenues, which themselves rely on future productivity. It's described as a kind of fraudulent, enormous pyramid scheme, relying on constant expansion.
And the book connects this monetary system directly to social unrest, polarization, growing government control.
It sees it as the root cause, or at least a major contributing factor. When the base layer of value is constantly manipulated, it distorts everything built on top of it.
So this idea of hyper-Bitcoinization, it's presented as the potential breaking point, the escape hatch.
Yeah, the most critical paradigm shift. Bitcoin is framed as that financial airbag, the bridge away from what they see as an unsustainable, potentially dystopian path towards one based on hope and sound money. It's a huge claim for a piece of technology, isn't it?
It is huge.
Because the authors see Bitcoin as way more than just digital cash. It's framed as this incredibly potent protector against inflation.
Saving you time, increasing freedom.
Fundamentally, yes.
Yeah.
It moves beyond that early image of a nerdy digital cash experiment. They talk about it sparking a global spiritual renaissance, even a reclamation of the human soul.
Wow. Okay. That's quite a statement.
It is. It's positioned as an exit strategy from meaningless work, a path towards, greater morality, real cooperation, genuine self-sovereignty.
But getting that, understanding it on that level, it requires more than just knowing how the tech works.
Definitely. The book stresses understanding the economic theories underneath praxeology, Austrian economics, plus the math, the game theory.
Praxeology, the study of human action, purposeful action.
Right. One contributor talks about how understanding that made finance suddenly click for him. The book suggests that simply owning some Bitcoin, getting off zero, fundamentally changes your perspective. Your worldview shifts.
It forces you to think about value, time, differently.
Exactly. And for anyone wanting to sort of dig into those foundational ideas, there are places like bitcoinbytes.org, that's bitcoin, blantes.org. Lots of resources there.
Okay, so this shift in perspective is tied to time. Time as the ultimate scarcity.
That's central to the argument. We all live under the unforgiving arrow of time. Our lives are finite. Time is the one thing you truly cannot get back. It's the most valuable thing we have.
So imagine someone just diluting the value of your past work, your stored time, with a keystroke, without asking.
Unilaterally, yeah. In a system where that's the norm, where the future value of your effort is uncertain, constantly eroded, can people even afford to think long-term? Or are they forced into short-term thinking just to survive?
It distorts our time preference, basically. Makes us prioritize now over later.
That's the idea. And this connects to physics, too. Entropy, the second law of thermodynamics. Disorder increases naturally.
Right. Things tend towards chaos.
But Bitcoin, the book argues, acts like a shield against entropy. By providing this fixed, predictable, unchangeable monetary base, it introduces order, potentially giving humanity more time on a grand scale.
Because of its absolute scarcity, the 21 million limit.
That fixed supply makes it the perfect trading tool, they argue, a stable anchor. Think about it. Every tool, every invention ultimately saves us time, makes us more efficient.
Sure, a washing machine saves time compared to washing by hand.
Exactly. Bitcoin aims to do that on a monetary level for everyone, forever. By providing these immutable rules that nobody can change, it enables fair cooperation, global free trade, without needing intermediaries or trusting central authorities.
It encourages long-term planning because the rules of the game won't suddenly change.
That's the core value proposition for society. Yes, stability breeds foresight.
Okay, so if Bitcoin is about protecting time, what about this time theft happening now? The book says official inflation numbers are misleading.
Deeply misleading, according to the authors. They argue real inflation isn't just rising prices, that's a symptom. Real inflation is the increase in the money supply itself.
The cause, not the effect.
Right. And this increase happens with a lag. Crucially, those closest to the source of the new money, the central banks, the big financial institutions, the government contractors maybe.
They get to spend it first, before prices fully adjust.
Exactly. That's the Cantillon effect. They benefit from the inflation, while everyone else further down the chain just experiences the rising prices after their purchasing power has already been eroded.
You can't just print value into existence. Someone has to pay.
Someone always pays. It comes back to Svanholm. Abundance in money, scarcity in everything else. If money is easy and abundant, real goods, services, your time, they become relatively scarce and expensive.
Scarcity in money, abundance everywhere else. The reverse.
Precisely. So monetary inflation is framed as mass time theft, locking people into that debt cycle. Fiat money is debt, a promise built on future promises, which the book calls fundamentally fraudulent.
So how does Bitcoin escape this? How does it handle time differently? You mentioned it's seen as a discovery, not an invention.
Yeah, that's a key philosophical point. The 21 million limit isn't a policy choice. It's presented as a fundamental, unchangeable mathematical property that was discovered, like discovering a law of physics.
And Satoshi even called the blockchain the time chain.
He did, in the early days, highlighting that deep connection. Bitcoin literally measures its own time internally.
Through block height, counting the blocks.
Yeah, and the network aims for a new block roughly every 10 minutes. This pace is maintained by the difficulty adjustment.
Ah, the mechanism that makes mining harder or easier depending on the network's computing power.
Exactly. It adjusts every 2016 blocks, roughly 2 weeks, to keep that 10-minute average block time consistent. It makes the system self-regulating, trustless, no need for a central clock keeper.
And this is crucial because digital stuff is just information, easily copied. Bitcoin solves the double spend problem.
By time-stamping transactions into these blocks, it creates a verifiable chronological order. You can't just copy Bitcoin like an MP3 file. You have to provably transfer ownership at a specific point in this shared timeline.
And that timestamping relies on proof of work, the energy expenditure.
Yes. Miners burn real-world electricity, competing to solve a complex puzzle, find a specific hash. It's computationally expensive, easy to verify, but incredibly hard to fake.
So the energy cost is the security. It proves work was done.
It proves work was done, creating order from probabilistic chaos. It bridges the subjective world of value with the objective reality of energy expenditure. It transforms electricity into a numerical, verifiable representation of time commitment.
So even buying a fancy car, the book suggests, is kind of a roundabout way of saving time, signaling status to free up future time.
In a way, yeah. But Bitcoin aims to be a more direct path, protecting the value of your stored time itself.
Because time is the ultimate scarce resource. Inflation steals it. Bitcoin protects it.
That's the core argument. Inflation benefits those holding assets, the wealthy, while exploiting those who primarily rely on wages or fixed incomes, keeping them on that hamster wheel. A system without that time theft would be fairer, more just.
Okay, thinking about it like that, Bitcoin sounds less like tech and more like alchemy, but a successful version.
Huh. In a very specific sense, yes. Remember, alchemists obsessed over gold. Why? Because it held value incredibly well for millennia.
It had the right properties. Durable, portable, divisible, uniform.
Scarce.
Exactly. Scarce because it's hard to find and produce that high stock-to-flow ratio.
But if the alchemists had found a cheap way to make gold,
They would destroy its value instantly by making it abundant.
okay.
So the book makes this provocative comparison. Central banking is successful alchemy in that destructive sense. They found a way to create new money, fool's gold, at almost zero cost.
No mining required, just keystrokes.
Right. And this alchemy enriches the creators, the issuers, and those closest to them. The Cantillon effect again.
Exactly. While everyone else bears the cost through diluted purchasing power.
So the book flips the alchemy idea. Instead of making gold, what if you could replicate and improve gold's properties?
What if you could create a perfect monetary element? That's the thought experiment. And it takes us into some deep territory, quantum physics.
Whoa, okay. How does quantum physics relate to money?
Well, the book argues that at the most fundamental level, matter is information. Subatomic particles, pure information. The smallest possible area of space, the Planck area, holds one bit of entropy. It's mind-bending stuff.
Definitely. And reality being probabilistic, not fixed. Qubits being 0 and 1 until observed.
That idea, the book suggests, implies free will. We make choices, we assign value based on scarcity and our needs. The market, through prices, reflects those collective judgments.
But if the money, the measuring stick, is constantly being messed with,
Then the price signals become unreliable. Central banks tampering with money's properties, especially its supply, distorts the whole information system of the economy. Accurate calculation becomes impossible.
So this leads to element 0. Bitcoin as this new fundamental element.
That's the concept. Imagine an element with zero mass, no physical substance, sitting at point zero on a conceptual periodic table.
But it would have perfect monetary properties. Durable, portable, instantly divisible, fungible, absolutely scarce.
Yes. And it's linked to reality. Its tangibility comes from its ability to bind energy.
Through proof of work.
Precisely. Its existence is proven by the energy demonstrably spent via the hashing algorithm and the difficulty adjustment. It's incredibly hard, prohibitively expensive to fake that proof. More costly to fake it than to actually make it.
So Satoshi didn't invent it, but discovered it, like finding a mathematical truth.
That's the perspective. Discovered element 0 by releasing the code. It exists purely as information, transferable at light speed anywhere the internet reaches.
Okay, that's a radical concept of money. How does it change ownership? You mentioned the MP3 analogy.
Right. MP3s made digital information infinitely copyable, disrupting intellectual property. Bitcoin takes it a giant leap further. It's pure information that has intrinsic, verifiable value as information.
And knowing is owning. Holding the private key is owning the Bitcoin.
There's no separation. The information is the asset. And this, the book argues, completely changes the equation for violence and confiscation.
How so?
Physical assets, houses, gold, cash in a bank, can ultimately be seized by force or decree. Someone can physically take them.
Sure.
But Bitcoin, held properly with a private key known only to you, it's just information, an abstract number. How do you physically seize a number from someone's mind or secure storage?
You can't know how much they have or easily take it by force.
Exactly. So the book argues, if you can't take wealth by force, the only sustainable way to acquire it is to earn it by providing value to others. Voluntary exchange becomes the dominant strategy.
Compare that to creating fiat money, just database entries.
Created with less effort than typing the word dollar, the book says. Fiat production cost is effectively 0.
And even though technology makes real goods and services cheaper to produce,
Fiat's 0 cost ensures prices keep rising artificially. It's an invisible tax, a constant headwind. Bitcoin, with its production cost tied to energy and difficulty, reveals this. Its purchasing power tends to increase over time.
The book mentioned a stat for 2021, $21 million created for every new Bitcoin.
Something like that, yeah. A poetic understatement of the disparity. It frames things like stimulus checks not as free money, but as tools that increase dependency.
If it's free, it's not money, it's a tool for controlling you. Pretty blunt.
Very blunt. It really forces you to question the nature of the money we use every single day.
Okay, so let's zoom out. How does this analysis impact global economics, our concept of truth, and sustainability? The US dollar as the reserve currency means Fed actions have global effects.
Huge global effects. The book calls it planetary scale time theft. When the Fed creates dollars, it makes oil, priced in dollars, more expensive for everyone. And since oil is in almost everything,
Most consumer goods get more expensive worldwide. It finances U.S. spending, projects, free initiatives.
at the expense of everyone else holding or needing dollars, essentially. It's a direct critique of Keynesian ideas that government spending is always the answer.
The book argues this leads to interventionism, corruption, resources going to the wrong places.
Yeah, it claims the bad guys won. Those who benefit from manipulated systems, bailouts for the connected, distorted interest rates. They argue sound money principles were abandoned.
But Bitcoin is the photon torpedo aimed at the core weakness.
That's the metaphor. Its deflationary nature, where its purchasing power tends to encourages saving, discourages waste, and forces more truthfulness into economic calculation, leading towards, hopefully, an abundant future.
Interesting that the book frames Bitcoin's costs, fees, volatility, the effort to secure it as a feature, not a bug.
Right. It argues those costs reflect its real value and integrity. Ignorance is costly in Bitcoin. You have to understand it, take responsibility for it.
Whereas fiat systems almost reward ignorance, hidden fees, giving away data.
Exactly. Traditional finance often extracts value in ways you don't see. And that data collection, it's not harmless.
Every transaction tracked, building profiles, potential social credit scores.
That's the warning. China's system is the overt example, but the potential for mass obedience through financial surveillance exists elsewhere. A path towards an Orwellian future.
The alternative is reclaiming sovereignty, refusing to be docile sheep.
That's the call to action, embracing responsibility, understanding the system, choosing alternatives.
The book uses the map versus territory idea. Money is the map, information about reality.
Yeah, the map money isn't the territory reality, but it should represent it accurately. It conveys information about debts, wants, needs.
But gold, the previous best map, had essentialization problems. Goldsmiths, banks.
It required intermediaries. And that paper layer built on top led to manipulation, bank runs, eventual government takeover, and confiscation. The fractional reserve system created the instability it claimed to solve.
Bitcoin, being a trustless ledger, avoids that. Sends value through time and space.
As a store of value, time and medium of exchange, space. A loss-free energy network. Value transmitted without degrading like debased coins or inflated fiat.
Because the proof of its existence is its existence. Miners burning real energy.
The energy expenditure is undeniable proof. The proof of the element's existence is the element itself. That's why they call it a truth machine. The most accurate historical record we have, verifiable by anyone.
And truthful systems lead to lower time preference, more long-term thinking.
Truthful, stable societies are more robust. People feel secure enough to plan, invest, build for the future. Untruthful, unstable ones breed fear, short-termism, immediate gratification.
Owning something non-confiscatable like Bitcoin frees you from that fear, allows for generosity love.
That's the psychological argument. Less fear, less self-centeredness. It connects truth, low time preference, and cooperation. Voluntary trade is moral and beneficial.
Bastiat's quote, "When goods do not cross borders, soldiers will."
Bitcoin facilitates that free trade, apolitically. Freedom of expression includes the freedom to transact value freely.
Okay, let's tackle the energy question head on. It's hugely controversial, but the book frames Bitcoin itself as a new form of energy.
Yeah, monetary energy. Physics tells us energy is transferred to do work. If Bitcoin is this massless informational element, it converts electricity into this stored potential energy value that can be transmitted.
A form we haven't really encountered before.
Right, and it gets even wilder. The book hints it might be part of a grand unifying theory, bridging electrical energy with human effort, maybe even linking quantum mechanics and relativity somehow.
Wow, okay. How?
By quantifying human value judgments while obeying physical laws, like thermodynamics. Using entropy to create order, converting electricity into this perfect representation of human time. Mathematical energy.
Unlike politicians who might oppose certain sources of energy, nobody's against energy itself.
Exactly. Energy's fundamental.
But this ties into energy politics, environmentalism, which the book criticizes.
Heavily. It sees the energy sector as a prime example of political interference causing harm. Environmentalism driven by fear, pushing unreliable renewables over proven reliable options like nuclear.
And unreliable energy creates unstable grids, higher costs,
and forces people into higher time preference. If your energy supply is precarious, you can't plan long-term. It undermines the very stability needed for genuine environmental solutions.
Politicians wage wars on abstract concepts, terror, drugs, climate to gain control.
That's the argument. Using fear of invisible enemies justifies more power, more control, leading to perpetual conflict, not solutions. The quote is stark. You're the carbon they wish to reduce and the virus they hope to contain. Implying these campaigns target individual liberty.
Which makes Bitcoin's resistance to control so important in this context. Lagarde calling for regulation shows misunderstanding.
A fundamental misunderstanding, the book argues. No one can do anything about Bitcoin. It's designed to be resistant, decentralized, global network of nodes. No single point of failure or control.
So banning it locally just pushes it elsewhere, incentivizes jurisdictions to be more Bitcoin-friendly.
That's the game theory. Attack strengthen it, prove its resilience. Its absolute scarcity and unforgeable cost, proof of work, are unique. We've never had a monetary good like this before.
Contrast that with fiat's debt engine, money created against government bonds.
Creating a system where debt must always exceed capital. Fiat money is debt. A promise to pay back using future tax receipts, which requires more economic activity, often fueled by more debt.
And economic theory pushes spending, consumption, ignoring waste.
Yeah, consumption is good for GDP, regardless of whether it's productive or sustainable. Technology drives real costs down, but fiat's zero cost ensures nominal prices rise.
Bitcoin reveals this because its purchasing power goes up.
It acts as a clearer lens, and its deflationary nature naturally encourages saving over spending, reducing waste, saving the planet by saving sound money, essentially.
Okay, the really counterintuitive part. Bitcoin mining helping renewables. Isn't mining wasteful?
The energy use is the value creation, the security. But miners are ruthless profit seekers. They need the cheapest power available anywhere in the world.
Which often means wasted energy, stranded assets.
Exactly. Flared natural gas, remote hydro dams with no grid connection, energy that would otherwise be completely wasted. Bitcoin mining can monetize it on site, currently estimated around 66% renewables or wasted energy.
So miners go where the cheap, often stranded energy is.
Making those renewable projects economically viable without subsidies. Bitcoin acts as a value battery, storing that otherwise lost energy potential.
So energy companies become miners, miners become energy companies.
A powerful synergy. Bitcoin transmits value efficiently through time, like gold, and space, like fiat, but better than both. It's a superior energy network for value.
And this provides the stable foundation, the immutable rules, needed for real long-term sustainability planning.
That's the claim. Without that sound base, environmentalism risks being just a pointless political charade, unable to achieve lasting results because the economic incentives are skewed by unsound money. Sacrificing energy becomes creating permanent value.
All right, let's get into the final layers. Morality, memes, and this idea of a Bitcoin symbiote. The morality of time preference, the book links belief in an afterlife to fiat currency. How?
It's a provocative analogy. Both, the book argues, can dilute the value of our actual finite time here on Earth. Belief in an afterlife might devalue present actions. Belief in fiat's perpetual value relies on faith in the issuer.
An existential money printer, neither creates real value, just belief.
Belief that allows control. Your real afterlife, the book suggests, is your legacy, what you build, what you leave behind.
But fiat jobs often lack purpose. Debt forces meaningless work, leading to nihilism.
That's the critique of fiat culture. To find meaning, you need to lower your time preference, value your own time, escape the hamster wheel.
Craxiology, again, value judgments precede action. Voluntary exchange is optimal. Involuntary is violence.
And the basic moral code, don't steal, don't harm, is universal. But governments coerce through taxes, inflation, keeping people in survival mode, high time preference.
From ancient rulers using religion to modern states using QE. Promises to control people.
Promises of afterlife. Promises of costless prosperity via perpetual debt. Government bonds are framed as a promise to continue using force, taxation, inflation, to repay debt. A downward spiral.
And Bitcoin, representing the scarcity of lifetime, limits the profitability of violence and false promises, connects time, info, morality.
That's the link. Its finite nature encourages a more stoic outlook. Focus on what you control, your choices, your time. Practice virtue, live in harmony with reality. It frees up time for deeper things, a potential spiritual awakening.
Okay, memetics. Richard Dawkins' idea of memes as cultural genes.
Ideas that survive and spread based on transmissibility, not necessarily truth or benefit, like organized religion, crime, taxation, powerful memes, regardless of their impact.
And Bitcoin is a meme. The idea of fixed rules, absolute truthfulness for an economy.
The ultimate meme, perhaps. It's self-propagating, a spawning pool for related ideas.
Right.
Arguing against it often just spreads awareness. Every news cycle, price swing, discussion, it spreads the meme.
Plus the profit motive. Owners are incentivized to spread the word.
Hugely incentivized, pump
It's
their
key.
bags. But because it's rooted in verifiable math and economics, the book argues it's hard to dismiss as just hype.
Bitcoin, the word, the idea, the meme, the network, all one phenomenon. Even t-shirts and critics help.
Everything contributes to its spread. You can explore its core ideas further at places like bitcoinbytes.org too.
So the Bitcoin symbiote, the relationship between user and Bitcoin.
Yeah, knowing is owning, the line blurs, you become intertwined with the network.
And lost keys mean the value transfers to everyone else, making the remaining coins scarcer.
A wealth distribution machine. Large holders tend to spend or distribute over time. New users accumulate. A reverse socialism driven by dedication and responsibility, not force.
What about toxic maximalism? Is that the symbiote's immune system?
That's how the book frames it. Resistance to bullshit demanding rigor, deep skepticism, self-criticism, follow the money, rejecting narratives that don't add up.
And this process changes people. From high time preference, fearful, ego-driven, to low, calm, philosophical.
The symbiote incentivizes saving, long-term thinking. It transforms the host, ideally.
So hyper-Bitcoinization is seen as inevitable and maybe less violent if it's faster.
Because Bitcoin's superiority will become apparent, removing the incentive for force. Education is key to smoothing that transition.
Banning it is like banning math. Pointless. Reveals a lack of freedom.
Exactly. It's just communication information. Attempts to ban it just highlight its properties and the nature of the regime trying to ban it.
Fear memes terrorism, viruses used for control, a result of unsound money.
The book argues that a lack of truthfulness at the base layer, money, makes society susceptible to fear-based control. Unsound money breeds instability and authoritarianism.
Bitcoin as humanity's most profound idea ever, compelling people to build this new reality.
Once you truly grasp it, the book suggests you feel compelled to participate. It changes you because you can't change it. Hashtag outro.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a huge amount of ground there, from the history of money through this idea of time theft via inflation.
To Bitcoin challenging our ideas of value, ownership, energy, even truth itself.
It's definitely presented as far more than just digital money. It's potentially a whole new relationship with time, reality, ourselves.
So as you, our listener, reflect on all this, maybe ask yourself, how does the time preference baked into our current system affect your goals, your relationships, your willingness to question things?
Yeah. And if Bitcoin is this truth machine, what truth might you want to verify in your own life? What would finding that out mean?
The book really frames understanding Bitcoin as a personal journey, a path towards maybe more sovereignty, more freedom from illusions.
It leaves us with that fundamental question, doesn't it? What does true wealth actually mean to you when everything is divided by 21 million?